Okay, the third point is one thing we really need to do is answer the value question. Now, what do I mean by that? The value question. What value are you? What value are you? I mean, it's a very important question to answer. Because we live in a culture that is very success-orientated, very sex-orientated. We live in a culture where young people feel terrible about themselves if they don't have a partner. We live in a culture that although it puts out this image of what perfection, while doing that, it actually, because none of us can reach it, it says to us that we're not as good as we need to be. So, and I really believe one of the greatest keys in moving through the recovery process to a life beyond mental illness is understanding our value. Understanding just simply who we are for who we are. I remember watching a movie, Cool Runnings. One of my favourite movies is I'll try that again. One of my favourite movies is Cool Runnings, and it's the story. If you don't know, it's a story about the Jamaican bobsled team that goes to the Winter Olympics, and it's a great fun movie to watch, and it's based on a true story. But there's a part in the movie where John Candy plays the coach. Now, John Candy plays the part of a person who was once a great bobsled driver, who won gold medals, but then had these gold medals stripped away from him because he cheated. And there's this really special moment in the movie, and it's before the last day when they're going for the gold medal and the Jamaicans are excited and they're in with a chance. And the young man asks his coach, "Why did you cheat?" And John Candy says, well, I had made winning everything, and I had to win. And then he makes this statement. And he says, gold medals are a wonderful thing. But if you're not enough without it, you'll never be enough with it. We live in a culture that throws success before us as the great answer to living a wonderful life is to be wealthy and successful. But I want to tell you, if you're not enough without it, you won't be enough with it. We have relationships that come together that are so dependent because both parties believe that they're not enough by themselves. And when we talk about the value question, I want us to understand that we are enough. And that we are valued simply because who we are. Not what we do, not where we are, but we are valued just simply because of who we are. There's a passage in Luke, it flicked up on the screen there. Let's have a look at it again. Luke chapter 15. It's the story of the lost coin. And it simply goes like this. Or suppose a woman had 10 silver coins and loses one. Does she not light a lamp, sweep the house and search carefully until she finds it? And when she finds it, she calls her friends and neighbours together and says, "Rejoice with me, I have found my lost coin." In the same way, I tell you, there is rejoicing in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents. This is so foreign to our Western culture. Because I don't know about you, but if we've got 10 coins and we lose one, what do? Well, we simply invest the other 9. That will make it grow and we'll get more than that one, so we'll forget that one. We lost it. But see, that's how we might think. This follows a story in the scriptures about the lost sheep, where the shepherd has 100 sheep, leaves 99 in a safe place, and heads off to find the one. Again, opposite to our culture, we'd say, well, we've got 99 still. That one, let that one go. We've got 99, they'll breed, we'll end up with more, so we'll have more than 100, that one will be replaced. But in God's economy, that's not how it works, because every one is vital. Every one is valuable. Every one is intrinsically important and valued to God. See, so God doesn't cast any aside. Because when you think about it, one coin was lost, but the value of the coin was actually never lost. The coin might have been lost, But the value of the coin was never lost. Why? Because the value of the coin was not dependent upon where the coin was, but rather the markings of the creator of the coin. Okay? So in our case, really, it matters not where we are in life on our core and our base value. Whether we are in the dust, under the stairs, we don't think we can be seen, and someone's searching for us, like in this story, the value is exactly the same. See, we've got to understand, we tend to look in our culture and say that the CEO of some great company is of more value to the young woman who's come through, who's been had a terrible upbringing. She's a single mum. She's got 3 different children to 3 different children, of course, but I know where I'm going with this. All right, so to 3 different fathers, and like we sort of see there and there. But in God's economy, it doesn't matter. Each one of those is of exactly the same value. See, so depressed, mentally ill, same value as a well person in God's sight. There's no difference. The coin might be lost under the stairs or in a dusty place, but the coin is of the same value. And I believe one of the key things, because we have so much in our culture that wants to tell us we are not good enough, to move forward in the process of recovery, understanding our core value just simply because we are, is vital to that recovery. Because we'll have the thoughts that will come in. We're going to look at controlling the thought life in the next session, right? But in the next point. But the thoughts will come in, and we'll see the things, and we know we won't live up to all that. But when we understand that our core value is based on God's love for each one of us simply because we are, it fundamentally changes our outlook on life. It fundamentally changes how we see ourselves and how we see the world around us. I learnt this a number of years ago with a situation, and the whole story is in the book, but we went through a time with one of our daughters where we really came to the, very hard to tell this without getting emotional, I must say, but we came to the point where we thought we were going to lose her. I remember kneeling beside my bed and praying a prayer that no parent should ever pray, and that was, God, if you're taking her, take her quickly. And it was very traumatic, and it was a very, very difficult time. And all full of the question. You know the questions we ask God? Why, God? How? Why should this happen? God, I love you. Why should this be happening to me? And going through the whole gamut of emotions and questions and things like that, until one day I was travelling about a 4-hour trip in a car, and through a series of events, it was just like God spoke and said to me, you know how much you love your daughter when she's going through that? And I said, yeah, I do. You know, God, how much I love her. And He says, I love you even more. And it fundamentally changed me. Because I think, and that was after I'd been a Christ follower for a decade. Because I fundamentally was changed. Because I realised that it wasn't, my value was no longer in my doing, but in my being. My value was no longer based on how successful I was. It was no longer based on how well I preached on a Sunday. It was no longer based on how much money I brought home. My value, core value, was simply based on the fact that God created me and He loves me. And if we can grab a hold of that, like if you've come in here today and you've doubted that, and you leave here and you know that, that's enough to change your life forever. Just that snippet. Isaiah 49, verse 15 to 16. Can a mother forget the infant at her breast, walk away from the baby she bore? But even if a mother forgets, I'll never forget you. Never. Look, I've written your name on the backs of my hands. The walls you're rebuilding are never out of my sight. Your builders are faster than your wreckers. Let's look at that patch for a tick. Even if a mother forgets, God says, I'll never forget you. That's very cool. That's very cool. But it goes on and says that. It says, look, I've written your name. Do you know that word written actually is, there's a definition, if you look at the word, it's actually, I've inscribed your name. So what God's actually saying is, I've etched you on me. I've dug you in to me. That's how valuable you are to me. See, if our value is incorrect of who we are, then every situation we go through goes back to the base of the value. No? Okay, it's like a default setting on a computer. No? That if things go wrong and it'll go back to where what it was set up to be. But if we change the default setting in our lives to the understanding that we are valued by God simply for who we are, then that's the base level. That's the point where everything else is built on. And that will fundamentally change us. See, we've got to understand God. We look around and we see great buildings, great structures dedicated to God, great ornate stained glass windows. We see all this paraphernalia that people have built, made, dedicated, and probably with very pure hearts. And some of the best properties are owned by churches. And there's like all this that's happening. But I want to tell you something about God. If you took all the riches of the world, every building in the world, every stained glass window in the world, every skerrick of religious paraphernalia in the world, and put it in one hand of God and stuck you in the other, He'd take you every time. Every time. Every time. Because you are precious. Just simply for who you are. And I don't know how long it's been since someone's told you you are precious. But I want to tell you today that you are precious. You are precious, unbelievably precious in the sight of God.